Hey, what's up you guys? My name's Tyler Rugge. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want to share with you guys 5 must-have reptile supplies that I would highly recommend. And I guess they're not all must-haves. Some of them are. But some of them are just things that would make your life a lot easier, and I know they've made my life a lot easier. And I also know that when I first got into reptile keeping, it was a little hard to figure out what supplies I should get, like what was absolutely necessary, what would just help a lot, and what was good, what was bad. Because there are a lot of reptile supplies on the market that are even bad for reptiles, and that's another video that I kind of wanted to make, was reptile supplies to avoid. So if you guys are interested in seeing that video, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up. And also let me know in the comments if you guys would like to see that, because that's been on my list of videos to film for a while, but I wasn't sure if you guys would be interested. But today I wanted to just share with you guys something a bit helpful, which is 5 supplies that I think that you should get. And some of these are dependent on what reptiles you have, so I will clarify when you will need some of these things. But first, we're going to start off with something really basic, but also really necessary. So the very first thing that you guys need to get is a thermostat. So thermostats are absolutely necessary if you have a reptile that is on a heat pad, heat mat, heat tape, anything like that. You need a thermostat for. So basically what a thermostat does is it regulates the temperature of the heat pad to whatever temperature you need it to be. So you're going to plug the thermostat into the wall, you're going to plug the heat pad into the thermostat, and then set the thermostat to whatever temperature you want the heat pad to get to. And then there's a probe that you place on the heat pad that measures the temperature and then regulates it so that it's whatever you set it to. These are super important because if you don't have a thermostat connected to your heat pad, it's just going to heat up to however hot it's going to get. And people often have issues with them overheating and burning their reptiles. And not only is burning your reptile something that could happen, but it's also really important that you have your heat pad set to whatever temperature that's needed for whatever species you're keeping, because different reptiles have different temperature requirements. So you can't just hook up a heat pad and expect it to magically heat up to that special temperature you need without a thermostat. It's probably gonna get too hot, most likely. And Maddie actually did a video a while ago, and I'll link it down below, where she hooked up a bunch of different heat pads of different brands and didn't regulate them and then measured how hot they got, and I think you'll be surprised, they got really hot. And it's just a really cool video to show you why thermostats are so important. So this is a Vivarium Electronics thermostat. This is the VE300 ×2. And it's just ×2 because you can hook up to 2 heat pads to this thermostat. I think I have like 4 or 5 of these because I have a lot of animals on heat pads and heat tape and different things that need to be regulated. You can actually get this thermostat on the Josh's Frogs website, and you can use my code Tyler Rugge to get 15% off your first purchase of anything on the Josh's Frogs website. So if you need to pick up a thermostat, I would highly recommend going to joshsfrogs.com and using my code so that you can save some money. But you also don't have to get a Vivarium Electronics thermostat. This is just one that I recommend because I know it works really well. However, it is a bit on the pricey side. So if you can't afford a really nice thermostat like this one, there are definitely more affordable options that will work a lot better than nothing. This is just, in my opinion, the most accurate and also one of the best ones you can get. But you obviously can get a more affordable one and it'll probably work just fine. But regardless of what thermostat you choose to use, you do still want to make sure you're regularly checking the temperatures of your enclosure and making sure that your heat source is heating up to the proper temperature. But it's really weird because they don't really sell thermostats at the pet store, and they also won't tell you to get one. But it is really important, so make sure you have a thermostat hooked up to your heat pads. The next thing that's going to be really useful for you if you are a reptile keeper with multiple reptiles on heat pads is heat tape. So heat tape is really cool because it's very customizable. You can get it in all different widths. This is one of the bigger ones, but you can get them, you know, less wide if you need it. And then you can also get it however long you want to get it cut out to. So really, however big you need your heat source to be, heat tape will come in really handy. Mainly if you have, let's say, a lot of snakes that have the same temperature requirements and you have them all hooked up to separate heat pads. Instead of having a bunch of different heat pads hooked up, you could just lay down on a shelf a piece of heat tape, regulate it with a thermostat, and then you can just place all of your enclosures under a single piece of heat tape. So this is going to be a lot more energy efficient and also just a lot easier to keep track of one heat source as opposed to multiple. And this also comes in really handy if you have a larger enclosure where you need a bigger space to be heated up and you can't find a heat pad that's large enough. And again, the heat tape I also got on the Josh's Frogs website. It comes in different sizes and you can tell them how long you need it to be cut to. And you can also use my code for 15% off your first purchase, I'm just saying. So the next thing that I'm gonna recommend is another really basic one, but I just thought I would share with you guys which one I prefer to use. And that is a thermometer or a hygrometer or both. This is a thermometer and a hygrometer all in one. I think they're called combo meters. Basically, this has a digital display that tells you both the temperature and humidity, and it has two separate probes, one for temperature and one for humidity. And it's just really nice having it all in one. And I've always used the ZooMed thermometer humidity gauge just because it's always what I've used. I have one on like all of my enclosures and it's always really accurate and works really well. I've never had any issues with these. And again, I believe you can get this on the Josh's Frogs website as well. But it's really important to be measuring the temperature and humidity in all of your enclosures because again, different animals obviously have different requirements for these things. They also do make like analog temperature and humidity gauges with the little thing that moves, but I just find those to be very inaccurate and they don't work very well, so I would definitely recommend going with a digital one. They just seem a lot more accurate and precise to me. So number 4 on our list of supplies that I would recommend you get, a temperature gun. So this is an infrared thermometer, point and shoot, and it tells you the temperature of wherever you point the little laser at. And this is really nice because you can measure the temperature all over your different enclosures. So you can easily point this at your hot spot, see the temperature, figure out the temperature of your cold spot, the middle of your enclosure. You can literally point this anywhere and figure out where the temperature is and have a good idea of the gradient in your enclosures. So I really like this just as an extra way to measure the temperature in my enclosures. And I even use this to measure the temperature in my aquariums. And I've compared the reading from this to thermometers in my aquarium and it's actually really accurate. So I would highly recommend one of these. It just makes measuring temperature a lot easier and more efficient. You can figure out, basking temperature, the hot spot, cool spot, whatever you need, just a lot easier with one of these. And I got this on Amazon and they're actually really inexpensive. I believe it's around $15. And I will link down below an Amazon affiliate link where you can get the same exact one that I have. And if you use my link, I will get a small percentage of the purchase. So if you use my link, I'd really appreciate it. And I would highly recommend one of these. They're really, really useful. All right, so last but not least on our list is going to be a tool that's really helpful if you are a snake keeper. And I'm assuming if you have a lot of snakes, you probably already have one of these, but I would highly recommend that you get a snake hook. So I have 2 snake hooks. This is a really small one that's kind of useful because it extends and it's just nice for getting my small snakes out of their enclosures. And then I have a larger, much more sturdy one for my larger snakes. And basically snake hooks just make it a lot easier to get a defensive snake out of their enclosure because a lot of snakes will be a little bit defensive when you go to grab them out of their enclosure, but then they'll be completely fine once they're out. This is mainly a thing with my boas. They're really nippy in their enclosures, so it's a lot easier to get them out with a hook. But on top of that, I've found snake hooks to be a lot less stressful on snakes, I feel like, than grabbing them out of their enclosure when you think about it. Having someone reach in to your home and grab you is a little bit stressful, and I completely understand that. So I've just found my snakes to be a lot less stressed out when I get them out with the hook as well. And it's also really useful to try to hook train your snakes. So you kind of tap them on the nose with the hook and then get them out every time you get them out of their enclosure. And that just lets them know that it's not feeding time, it's time to come out and be handled. And this is something that I've especially been working on with my retic because he's gonna be a pretty big snake one day, and I don't want him to be defensive in his enclosure when I'm getting him out. So hook training has come in really helpful and it's worked really well. I've never had issues with him striking at me at all anyways, but it's just something that's good to do. I've just found getting snakes out of their enclosures with a snake hook is less stressful on the snake than actually just grabbing them with your bare hands. And it's really easy because you really just have to kind of scoop them up with the hook and then get them out. And a lot of the times they'll just slither right onto the hook and like wrap around it. And then you can just, you know, take them out, grab them off the hook, and you're all good to go. I'm gonna now get the bigger hook out and get my retic Solomon out. And Solomon actually isn't that big, but he's really long and sometimes is far back in the enclosure. So it's really helpful having the big hook on hand. Just gonna boop the snoot. I probably didn't need to show you guys how a snake hook works, but I did want to show you Solomon because look at him. He's the best noodle. He's getting so big too. He always likes to wrap around my head. Anyways, every time. The small one I just got from PetSmart, and I think you can also buy them on the Josh's Frogs website. And then the larger one like this, I got from a reptile expo, and I would highly recommend getting it from an expo because they're a lot cheaper there. But if you don't have a local reptile expo that sells them, then I will also link an Amazon affiliate link down below where you can buy one of these on Amazon. And again, the big one's just really nice if you have a larger or heavier snake because the small one is really flimsy. And honestly, this is my second one because my other one broke. So this is only really good to be used for small snakes, and then most other snakes I would recommend one like this. So yeah, those are all of the reptile supplies that I would highly recommend that you get. There's obviously a lot of other things I could also recommend. Those are just some of the most basic reptile supplies that I feel like if you're just getting into reptile keeping, you'll find some of those to be really helpful. So I hope you guys did find this video to be helpful. And if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Again, give it a thumbs up too if you want to see a video about reptile supplies you should avoid, because there are quite a few of those as well. Also, if you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on my notifications. And you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, which will be linked down in the description below. And I will see you guys in my next video.